After World War I, Germany was banned from possessing military aircraft. That at least is the official story. What many people don't realize is that Germany raised a new secret air force from the remains of its famous World War I Imperial Flying Service and sent it to war once again. It was staffed by many of Germany's top aces and flew the world's most advanced fighters. This is the story of Kampfgruppe Sachsenberg, Germany's Weimar Republic secret air force. In 1917, revolution had broken out in Russia. The Russian Soviet Republic was declared on the 7th of November, and Russia moved quickly to end its participation on the Allied side in World War I. In a disastrous move to its former allies Britain and France, Russia ended fighting on the Eastern Front against Germany, ceding its control over the Baltic states of Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia in the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk in March 1918. This allowed the Germans to transfer hundreds of thousands of troops to the Western Front, enabling the Kaiser to make a last great push for a final victory in 1918. The Germans established occupation governments in Estonia and Latvia and granted independence to a puppet regime in Lithuania. The Baltics were full of what were called Baltic Germans, ethnic Germans that had settled the region since the 13th century. Later in 1918, Germanic regions of the Baltic states declared independence in union with the German Empire. But then on the 11th of November 1918, Germany lost World War I. German occupation forces were pulled out of the Baltics, leaving a power vacuum that Lenin and the Bolsheviks sought to fill by reoccupying the Baltic states for the Soviet Union. The Soviets invaded Estonia and Latvia. The Estonians put up fierce resistance with the help of troops from Sweden, Denmark and Finland. Britain's Royal Navy also assisted, and the Estonians beat Russia after a year of fighting. Meanwhile, newly independent Latvia and Lithuania called for assistance from Germany. And this was a problem. The German military, supposedly defeated, was supposed to be withdrawn from the region, as Germany began the process of drastically reducing its army and navy. It meant that hundreds of thousands of servicemen ended up redundant. But many German officers took it upon themselves to form private armies from demobilized soldiers known as Freikorps. Many were driven by a violent hatred for communism, as revolutions and uprisings were breaking out across Germany itself, and the weak central Weimar government tried to exert its control. A Freikorps called the Iron Division deployed to Riga in Latvia. The stated aim of this move was to prevent the Soviets from advancing into East Prussia. But its real aim was to help the Baltic Germans re-establish their dominance over Latvia. When the Iron Division attacked, most of Latvia had already fallen to Soviet forces, but by March 1919 the Iron Division, along with some official German troops from the new Reichswehr, had forced the Soviets back. The Allies monitored all this and tolerated the Freikorps actions in Latvia, as they had no wish to see the Soviets extend their influence to the Baltic states. The Freikorps also received the strong backing of Weimar Republic Defense Minister Gustav Noske. The Iron Division was commanded by Generalmajor Gustav, Count von der Goltz, a highly experienced World War I general, and involved infantry, cavalry and artillery formations. But it was also backed up with its own air force, something soon made illegal under the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. But von der Goltz knew that air power would be one of the keys to winning the war against the Soviet Union, and ordered an air force formed from the ruins of the old Imperial Flying Service. It was, to all intents and purposes, the last gasp of Germany's World War I Air Force, fighting just as the Allies started to scrap thousands of World War I German planes before completely outlawing military aircraft in Germany. Lieutenant Gotthard Sachsenberg was a naval officer and fighter ace, who was tasked by Count von der Goltz with forming an air unit for the German 1st Guards Reserve Division serving in the Baltic. A holder of the prestigious Pour le Mérite, or Blue Max, Imperial Germany's highest award for gallantry and meritorious service, Sachsenberg had 31 aerial victories to his name. Sachsenberg's 2 wartime friends and fellow Blue Max holders formed the squadron's core, and they were Josef Jacobs with 48 victories and Theodor Osterkamp with 32. Casting around defeated Germany, Sachsenberg amassed a group of 50 highly experienced fighter pilots and observers, plus several hundred excellent ground crew, and secretly gathered together aircraft from the defeated and grounded Imperial Flying Service or direct from factories that were still secretly manufacturing these planes. Kampfgruppe Sachsenberg used pretty much every type of later war German aircraft, including the brand new all-metal Junkers D-1 and CL-1 monoplanes, as well as wooden biplanes like the Halberstadt, DFW, LVG, Rumpler, and Fokker D-7 and 8. In fact, the new Junkers was the most superior aircraft at the time, and the Soviet Air Force had nothing comparable. The unit ended up with 15 Junkers C-1 and 15 D-1 aircraft. These rugged and fast aircraft were very impressive machines, the combat operations in the Baltic proving the value of all-metal monoplanes over the older wood and canvas biplanes. Kampfgruppe Sachsenberg was divided into 3 squadrons, one for reconnaissance, 1 fighter, and 1 bomber. Arriving at their main base at Weinode, west of Liebau, in March 1919, they used the old Zeppelin sheds as hangars. From Weinode, the German air unit moved east to Out-Outs and Petersfeld, flying reconnaissance and bombing sorties against Soviet forces. Incredibly, their reputation preceded them, and between February and September 1919, the German fighter pilots were not engaged even once by Soviet fighters in dogfights. The Germans lost 2 aircraft during this period. 1 Junkers, force-landed behind Russian lines due to engine trouble, and another, already out of commission, was abandoned on the airfield at Out-Outs towards the end of the operation. Both aircraft were captured by the Soviets and taken to Moscow for intensive study. The reconnaissance missions flown by Kampfgruppe Sachsenberg pilots were vital to the German success in Latvia. Bombing missions were also well delivered against Soviet ground formations, the Soviet Air Force seemingly incapable of matching the Iron Division's modern methods of waging war. However, Kampfgruppe Sachsenberg was eventually withdrawn from the Baltic states in December 1919, following political pressure from Berlin. The pilots and men dispersed into uncertain futures in Weimar Germany, while their aircraft would all be scrapped under Allied supervision. The old Imperial German Air Service was officially dissolved on the 8th of May 1920 under the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, and all of its aircraft destroyed or taken by the Western powers for study. So ended the story of Germany's last World War I flying circus. In the end, although the Freikorps saved Latvia from the Red Army, they failed to create a German-dominated state in the Baltics. Many Freikorps believed that they had been stabbed in the back by Weimar government politicians led by President Friedrich Ebert. these soldiers returned to Germany embittered and hostile, with many later joining the Nazi Party in the early 1920s, drawn by Hitler's ideas of bringing all German-speaking areas of Europe under Berlin's control, including the areas populated by Baltic Germans. Interestingly, several of the highly decorated pilots of Kampfgruppe Sachsenberg went on to serve in the Luftwaffe in World War II in high command positions. Theodor Osterkamp gained a further 6 victories from the battles of France and Britain in 1940, being awarded the Knight's Cross. Kampfgruppe Sachsenberg pilot Walter Warden ended up commanding a paratroop division from the Battle of the Bulge in 1944. Josef Jacobs became a significant anti-Nazi and spent some time in hiding in the Netherlands during World War II. When he died in Munich in 1978, he was the last holder of the Blue Max for aviation. As for Sachsenberg, he became a politician and entered the shipping industry, developing the concept of the hydrofoil. He died in Bremen in 1961. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also visit my new audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton, details below. You can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon, details again in the description box below.